The White House, a symbol of American democracy and power. But what if its halls concealed a dark secret? A conspiracy theory claims Nazi agents infiltrated the highest levels of government, pulling strings from the shadows. It's a tale that's captured imaginations and sparked heated debates. But what's the real story behind these sensational claims? Today, we're diving deep into declassified files from the OSS, CIA, and FBI to separate fact from fiction. What we've uncovered isn't a hidden Nazi plot, but something far more complex and in many ways more troubling. Our journey begins in the chaos of post-World War II Europe. As the dust settled on the battlefields, a new conflict was brewing, the Cold War. And in this high-stakes game of espionage and influence, America's intelligence agencies made some morally questionable alliances. Let's set the stage. It's 1945, and the OSS, predecessor to the CIA, is scrambling to gain an edge over the Soviet Union. Enter Reinhard Gehlen, a former Nazi intelligence officer. With a network of spies across Eastern Europe, the Americans saw an opportunity, and Operation Paperclip was born. But here's where fact diverges from conspiracy. While former Nazi operatives were indeed recruited for intelligence work, there's no evidence this operation reached the Oval Office. Presidents weren't pulling strings alongside hidden fascists. The reality was far more mundane, and in some ways, more disturbing. These Cold War compromises remained hidden for decades. It wasn't until 1975 that the truth began to emerge. The Church Committee, a Senate investigation into intelligence abuses, lifted the veil on covert operations. But what they found wasn't a Nazi conspiracy. Instead, they uncovered a web of CIA and FBI excesses, illegal surveillance, assassination plots, and more. Let's be clear, the files leaked during this period were narrowly focused. They detailed post-war espionage efforts and Holocaust documentation. There was no grand Nazi plot against the White House hidden in these papers. So how did we end up with such wild theories? The answer lies in the nature of intelligence work itself. Secrecy breeds suspicion. Coded language and redacted documents fuel imaginations. Conspiracy theorists took these fragments of truth and wove them into sensational narratives that captured public attention. But the real story here isn't about hidden agents or shadowy cabals. It's about the vital importance of transparency and oversight in matters of national security. The Cold War pushed America to make compromises, to work with unsavory characters in the name of fighting communism. These choices had consequences. Consequences we're still grappling with today. Let's look at the facts. The Austin CIA records from this period focus on the use of former Nazis in espionage operations. They detail networks of informants, intelligence gathering in Eastern Europe, and efforts to stay one step ahead of the Soviets. What they don't show is any kind of infiltration or control of the presidency. The declassified archives paint a picture of a government wrestling with difficult choices. How far was too far in the fight against communism? Where did we draw the line between necessary intelligence work and moral compromise? These are the real questions that emerge from these files, not tales of hidden Nazi influence. But here's the thing. Conspiracy theories thrive by twisting these archival facts into something more sinister. A memo about a former Nazi informant becomes evidence of a vast underground network. A classified operation transforms into proof of fascist control at the highest levels. It's a seductive narrative, but one that falls apart under scrutiny. The reforms that came out of the Church Committee weren't a response to Nazi conspiracies. They were a reaction to very real abuses of power within our own intelligence community. New oversight mechanisms were put in place to prevent future excesses and ensure our agencies operated within the bounds of the law. So where does this leave us? With the challenge, in an age of information overload, it's more important than ever to approach history with a critical eye. We can't let clickbait headlines and sensational claims shape our understanding of the past. The story of America's post-war intelligence operations is complex. It involves moral compromises, questionable alliances, and a government struggling to navigate a new world order. But it's not a tale of hidden Nazi puppeteers. It's a reminder of the importance of transparency, accountability, and the constant vigilance required to maintain our democratic ideals. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. Will you dig deeper into the sources, seek out primary documents, and challenge your own assumptions? Or will you trust everything you see online, letting others shape your view of history? The choice is yours, but remember, the truth is often more nuanced and more important than any conspiracy theory. In a world of misinformation, your curiosity and critical thinking are powerful weapons. Use them wisely. The files have been declassified, The secrets are out in the open, but the real work of understanding our past and shaping our future is just beginning. Are you ready to take on that challenge? The year is 1945. World War II has just ended, and the United States finds itself at a crossroads. As the dust settles on the battlefields of Europe, a new conflict looms on the horizon, the Cold War. But beneath the surface of this global power struggle, a darker story unfolds, one that would challenge the very foundations of American democracy and raise questions about the moral compass of our nation's intelligence agencies. For decades, whispers and rumors have circulated about Nazi agents infiltrating the highest levels of the U.S. government. Conspiracy theorists claim that these former Third Reich operatives wormed their way into the White House itself, secretly shaping policy from within. But what's the truth behind these sensational claims? Today, we're diving deep into declassified files from the OSS, CIA, and FBI to separate fact from fiction. What we've uncovered isn't a tale of hidden Nazi sympathizers pulling the strings of American leadership. Instead, it's a story of moral compromise in the face of perceived existential threats, a decision to prioritize Cold War strategy over justice for war crimes. Let's start with a name that might not be familiar to most: Reinhard Gehlen. During World War II, Gehlen served as Hitler's top intelligence officer on the Eastern Front. You'd think a man with his background would have faced prosecution after Germany's defeat. But in a twist that seems almost too outlandish for fiction, Gehlen instead found himself recruited by U.S. intelligence. Why? Because Gehlen possessed something invaluable in the emerging Cold War landscape: an extensive network of anti-Soviet informants and a wealth of intelligence on America's new adversary. The CIA and Army saw an opportunity too tempting to pass up, even if it meant turning a blind eye to Gehlen's Nazi past. But Gehlen wasn't an isolated case. Declassified documents reveal that at least 5 associates of Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the Holocaust, were employed by the CIA in the years following World War II. These men, with hands stained by some of history's darkest atrocities, were now being used to decode Soviet secrets and bolster America's intelligence capabilities. It's crucial to understand the context of these decisions. As the Iron Curtain descended across Europe, U.S. intelligence agencies faced an agonizing choice: pursue justice for Nazi war criminals, or leverage their expertise to combat what was seen as the greater threat of Soviet expansion. In the eyes of many decision-makers, the ends justified the means. This pragmatic, but ethically fraught, approach didn't go unnoticed within the intelligence community itself. Internal CIA memos from the period reveal heated debates and criticism of these alliances. Some agents argued that by embracing former Nazis, America was compromising the very values it had fought to defend during World War II. But let's be clear, while these former Nazi operatives were employed covertly by U.S. intelligence agencies, there's no evidence to support claims of them infiltrating the White House or directly shaping presidential policy. The reality, while troubling, is far more nuanced than the conspiracy theories suggest. What we're left with is a stark illustration of the moral tightrope walked. During the early Cold War years, U.S. intelligence prioritized gathering information on the Soviet threat, even if it meant overlooking the horrific pasts of some of their new assets. It was a calculated gamble, trading moral high ground for perceived strategic advantage. This chapter in American history raises uncomfortable questions. How do we reconcile our nation's ideals with the compromises made in the name of national security? At what point does pragmatism become a betrayal of our core values? The repercussions of these decisions would echo for decades. As the tales of these covert alliances eventually came to light, they sparked public outrage and calls for reform. The Church Committee hearings of the 1970s, investigating abuses by U.S. intelligence agencies, were in part a response to these revelations. Today, we have greater oversight of intelligence operations, but the fundamental tension remains. In a world of complex threats, how do we balance the need for effective intelligence gathering with ethical considerations and the rule of law? As we reflect on this chapter of history, it's worth considering, could something like this happen again? Are there modern-day equivalents to these morally dubious alliances being formed in the shadows of our intelligence agencies? The story of Nazi operatives and U.S. intelligence isn't one of shadowy infiltration, but of calculated compromise. It's a cautionary tale about the slippery slope of moral relativism in the face of perceived existential threats. While these former Nazis never set foot in the Oval Office, the decisions to employ them left an indelible mark on American foreign policy and the ethical landscape of intelligence gathering. So, what do you think? Is it ever acceptable to recruit criminals or human rights violators for the sake of national security? Or does this kind of moral compromise inevitably erode the very foundation of the democracy we're trying to protect? As we grapple with these questions, it's crucial to remember the importance of transparency and accountability. The declassification of these files allows us to confront our past, learn from it, and hopefully make more informed decisions moving forward. In the end, the true power lies not in hidden conspiracies, but in our ability to face hard truths and demand better from our institutions. The next time you hear a sensational claim about secret plots and hidden agendas, remember this story. Dig deeper, seek out primary sources, and always question the narrative, because the truth, while often less dramatic than fiction, is infinitely more important. This has been a journey through one of the most morally complex chapters of the Cold War, a reminder that history is rarely black and white, but filled with shades of gray that challenge our notions of right and wrong. As we move forward, let's carry with us the lessons of the past, remaining vigilant in our pursuit of both security and justice. The choice between these two ideals is rarely easy, but it's a choice we must continue to make with clear eyes and unwavering principles. Because in the end, it's not just our safety at stake, it's the very soul of our democracy. The internet is buzzing with a shocking claim. Nazi agents infiltrated the highest levels of American government, reaching all the way to the White House itself. But before you hit that share button, let's dig deeper into the declassified files and uncover the truth behind these sensational headlines. In 1998, the US government launched a massive declassification effort. The Nazi War Crimes and Japanese Imperial Government Records Interagency Working Group, or IWG, began sifting through millions of pages of top-secret documents from World War II and beyond. Their mission? To shed light on America's wartime intelligence operations and post-war activities. As these long-hidden files came to light, conspiracy theorists pounced. They claimed to have found smoking gun evidence of a Nazi shadow government operating within the corridors of power. But the reality, as is often the case, is far more complex and far less sinister than these viral posts would have you believe. Let's start with the facts. The IWG declassified approximately 8 million pages of intelligence files from the Office of Strategic Services (OSS), the precursor to the CIA, as well as documents from the FBI and other agencies. These records offer an unprecedented look into America's covert operations during one of the most turbulent periods in world history. But here's the crucial point. Despite exhaustive searches, researchers found no evidence to support claims of Nazi agents embedded within the White House or presidential offices. The declassified files tell a different story, one of wartime intelligence gathering and post-war pragmatism in the face of new global threats. During World War II, the OSS was laser-focused on gathering intelligence about Nazi war crimes and military operations. Their primary goal was to defeat the Axis powers, not to root out internal subversion. The declassified documents paint a picture of dedicated intelligence officers working tirelessly to gather information that could turn the tide of the war. So, if there weren't Nazi spies in the Oval Office, what did these hidden files actually reveal? The truth is both less sensational and more morally complex than the conspiracy theories suggest. As World War II gave way to the Cold War, US intelligence agencies found themselves facing a new enemy, the Soviet Union. In their rush to gain an edge in this ideological conflict, American officials made some ethically questionable decisions. The declassified files show that the US did, in fact, work with former Nazi operatives in the years following the war. One of the most notorious examples is Operation Paperclip, which brought German scientists and engineers to America to work on space and weapons programs. While these individuals weren't active Nazi agents, many had troubling connections to the Third Reich. The US government, in its eagerness to stay ahead of the Soviets, chose to overlook or downplay these past associations. Another key figure revealed in the declassified documents is Reinhard Gehlen, a former Nazi intelligence officer who became a valuable asset to American intelligence. In the early days of the Cold War, Gehlen's network of informants and his expertise on Soviet military capabilities made him an attractive partner, despite his problematic past. It's important to note that these collaborations happened after World War II had ended, not during the conflict itself, and while morally dubious, they were driven by Cold War strategy rather than Nazi sympathies within the US government. The declassified files also shed light on the CIA's involvement in protecting certain Nazi war criminals from prosecution. particularly those deemed useful in the fight against communism. This included providing safe passage and new identities to individuals with specialized knowledge or intelligence connections. These revelations are undoubtedly troubling. They raise serious questions about the ethical compromises made in the name of national security, but they don't support the extreme claims of a Nazi-controlled White House or widespread infiltration of the US government. So why do these conspiracy theories persist? Part of the answer lies in how we process information in the digital age. Sensational headlines and oversimplified narratives spread quickly on social media, often outpacing more nuanced, factual accounts. The declassified documents are complex and require careful analysis, something that doesn't always translate well to viral posts or quick sound bites. Additionally, the very existence of classified files can fuel suspicion. When governments keep secrets, it's natural for people to wonder what they're hiding. But the reality is that intelligence agencies often classify information to protect sources, methods, and ongoing operations, not to cover up vast conspiracies. The IWG's declassification efforts actually demonstrate a commitment to transparency and historical reckoning. By making these documents public, the US government has allowed historians, journalists, and the public to examine this difficult period in American history. What these files truly reveal is the need for robust oversight of intelligence agencies and a careful examination of the moral trade-offs made in the name of national security. The Cold War era saw numerous instances where democratic principles were compromised in the fight against communism. Understanding this history is crucial to preventing similar missteps in the future. As we grapple with these complex issues, it's important to approach bold claims with a critical eye. The next time you see a headline proclaiming shocking revelations about hidden government conspiracies, take a moment to dig deeper, look for reputable sources, seek out expert analysis, and consider the full context of the information being presented. The story of America's post-war intelligence operations is one of moral ambiguity, strategic compromises, and the sometimes blurry line between allies and enemies. It's a reminder that history is rarely as black and white as we might like it to be. In the end, the declassified files don't reveal a secret Nazi cabal controlling the White House. Instead, they offer a sobering look at the difficult choices made during a period of global upheaval. They challenge us to confront uncomfortable truths about our past and to remain vigilant in protecting democratic values, even in the face of existential threats. So, the next time you encounter a sensational claim about hidden government plots, remember this story. Ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture, or just a carefully framed snapshot? The truth is out there, but it often requires more than just a quick glance to uncover.